Shout out to the intro. Welcome to Rich Talks, podcast where we do music commentary, cultural commentary, deep dives, and just interesting topics in general. I'm your host, Unc, aka R.E.A.L. Now let's get into it. Happy New Year, y'all. I really hope everyone enjoyed their time with their loved ones, as we start to embrace this new year. Let's just collectively try to make this one better than the previous years. All right, now, it's time to get to the nittiest of the grittiest. Because I'm about to say some shiitake mushrooms. All right, yo, some of y'all really like to condemn people just based off accusations, right? So, yeah, this is where the episode's going. Right off the jump, I'm going straight in. Sometimes it genuinely kind of feels like when it comes to men in particular, there's just no such thing as innocent until proven guilty. It's just automatically guilty until proven innocent. But whether things are proven to be false or not, whether you are proven to be innocent in the court of law, it just feels like, I don't know, whether it's proven to be true or not, it feels like, especially evident when it comes to a discussion of successful black men, it just puts us in this weird position, man. The positions of black men in positions of perceived power, they get it the hardest in terms of the guilty until proven innocent, And there's just there might be a little racial undertone to it, but it's systemic. I feel like it's really systemic. But obviously I say all that to say, yes, this is an episode about Jay-Z and the crazy allegations that were levied at him by an accuser. And, everything based on that accusation has a whole section of the internets, that's y'all, using decades old conspiracy theories as justification that everything that's ever been alleged or rumored about Jay-Z is true. But you know what? This episode it's deeper than that, man. It's really, because honestly, I think that this is more so like an indictment on, well, it's definitely an indictment on many things, but one point I really wanted to highlight is the fact that that hip hop as a culture went from a community that brought people together to showcase and highlight the talents of people within one of the many pillars that encapsulated the culture to a not even a caricature of itself, because it's entirely different from it's just become something entirely different, something else entirely. It's a different entity now. For a long time, hip hop has been co-opted by a collective of individuals in power that had the wherewithal or the vision to see how powerful the influence of this hippity hop music culture held. It held such a sway over the youth, and so they basically came in with their Scrooge McDuck sized bags of money and just basically took the most influential or most talented ones and essentially bribed them with a lifestyle that they've never even been familiar with, and in turn they grew to become the vehicles of this indoctrination that turned the culture into the degenerate friendly state of chaos that it's in now. Holy crap, that was a mouthful. What am I saying? But you know what? You can't fully fault these people for becoming the vehicles of the indoctrination that they did become, but you can't hold them accountable. Because when they finally reach that mountaintop and see all the influence and the damage that they've wrought on their journey to get to the top, well, all the ethically questionable business moves, the people that they left behind to solidify their position or to progress, the sacrificial lambs that they had to give up to achieve said goals, the loyalty that they no longer have to certain individuals. Shout outs to R.E.A.L, R.E.A.L. It's an acronym for remember, everybody ain't loyal. And shout outs to Freddie Gibbs, because that was actually the title of his track when he dissed Young Jeezy, when he was going through that beef with Young Jeezy at the time. And I just kind of wanted to highlight it because it's a dope acronym, because it seems kind of apropos for this conversation, you know, because as they say, sometimes business is just business, right? But loyalty is a whole different thing entirely, right? Like, is there truly loyalty in business? Like, you know, because one day this person's your rival and then the next day you're doing business with them. Like, you know, it's a weird dichotomy sometimes. And I feel like I feel like we kind of allowed a group of bad actors to essentially turn the culture of hip-hop into a business, right? And a business that isn't even controlled by the people that built it. Like, it's built by people that just came in afterwards and threw their money at it, like oh, we'll invest, like, you know, some angel investor type shit. But actually, you know, I think it's a bit of more of an indictment on a lot of different things, but what I just mentioned is the main thing, obviously. But I wanted to take the time to kind of go over some of the Jay-Z allegations, like, along with maybe going through some of the most enduring rumors and conspiracies that have always been tied to Jay-Z over the years. So to start with, let's dissect a little bit about like what we do know about the character of Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z. From what we know about like his history, like the fact that he was a teenage drug dealer and he shot his drug addicted older brother in the shoulder when he was only 12 years old because his brother stole some of his jewelry at the time. So let's take it back, you know, like way back into time. I'm just knocking shit over now. I'm crazy. So he was born Sean Corey Carter on December 4th, 1969 in Brooklyn, New York. Wow. 1969. You know, a lot of people don't even realize this, but Jay-Z is actually older, 2 years older than Snoop Dogg.
Stop the cap.
You'd be surprised, right? He doesn't look like he's older than Snoop. Snoop looks like he's the older one. Everyone always calls him Uncle Snoop. You know how it goes. But yeah, Jay-Z's up there in age, man. He's 2 years older than Snoop, and he's like 1 year younger than LL Cool J, who was like Def Jam's first artist. So LL's pretty up there in age, and the fact that Jay-Z's right behind him, like, you know, yeah. Anyways, like, he was the last child to be born to Gloria Carter and Adnis Reeves, who left the family when Sean was about 11 years old, right? So according to Gloria, and I'm pretty sure y'all have actually already heard this on the intro to the song December 4th from the Black Album by Jay-Z. According to Gloria, Sean was the only one who didn't give her any pain when she gave birth to him, and that's how she knew that he was a special child. Let's give her a round of applause for that. You know, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So after Adnis left the family, a young Sean and his siblings were basically left to be raised in the infamous Marcy projects of Brooklyn, New York, you know? And to hear Jay talk about it, he said growing up in the Marcy, guns were everywhere. Like, you know, you didn't have to go far to get one, just everywhere. Guns were around every day, and there were shootouts. But most people in shootouts don't get shot. But you know, it's like a lot of it's like scare tactics and just like they're just ducking behind stuff and baking off shots and then just like going about their business afterwards. It's a really weird dynamic with these people. And obviously that's not the best environment for a person to grow up in, and that became more than obvious when around 12 years old, as I mentioned before, young Sean shot his 16-year-old crack-addicted brother Eric in the shoulder for stealing a 2-finger ring that a girl had gotten for him at 12 years old. Shit. Like, he actually tells us a little bit of what's going on in his mind at the time in the song You Must Love Me, right? When he rapped, saw the devil in your eyes, high off more than weed, confused. I closed my young eyes and squeezed.
You're a victim.
Oh, I'm messing up. How did it go again? He said, saw the devil in your eyes, high off more than weed, confused. I closed my young eyes and squeezed. Yeah, that was crazy. Jay would also later on expound on what he felt in that moment in a later interview, and he said, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd go to jail forever. It was terrible. I was a boy, a child. I was terrified, as he should have been. Like no impulse control at 12 years old, man. Holy crap, just pulling the trigger like that, man. Thankfully, his older brother still had the wherewithal to not press charges on his younger brother. And he even apologized to young Sean when he visited him in the hospital. And a lot can be said about what caused this change in behavior for a 12-year-old in the hood. But I think the biggest and most obvious catalyst for all of this was that within the same year that Adnis left the family, at one of their most vulnerable times, you have a son that's addicted to crack.
Stop the cap.
And a preteen son that was being influenced by the environment around him. That wasn't fair, man. You were leaving these kids in a situation that wasn't even fair to them. Come on, man.
You're a victim.
First of all, how did your 16-year-old son get addicted to crack? That's a whole different argument, right? Come on, Gloria, Adnis, where were you guys? This is nuts. But obviously Jay-Z's story is not everyone's story, right? And considering he was one of the luckier ones to make it out of said environment that doesn't want to see people that look like them succeed if they aren't succeeding with them, the crab in the bucket mentality.
You're a victim.
But you tend to see this story a lot when you go to the hood, and unfortunately, most of them don't have this sort of unique or happy ending to them. You know what I mean? I'm sometimes reminded of the lyrics from the Tribes at War song, where it was Nas and Damian Marley, right? And Kanan was featured on that song. It's especially reminiscent to Kanan's particular verse because basically there was a part where he starts breaking down the 5-step process in how we as a people and as a culture just kind of turn on each other and implode, and once again that R.E.A.L analogy rears its ugly head, because remember, everybody ain't loyal. So Kanan's verse kind of goes the verse in question that I wanted to highlight excuse me, it goes a little something like this. It went flyness, who made it? It gets duplicated. Mindless violence, well, let me try to paint it. Here's the 5 steps in hopes to explain it. 1, it's me and my nation against the world. 2, it's me and my clan against the nation. 3, then me and my fam against the clan. 4, then me and my brother with no hesitation. Go against the fam until they cave in. 5, now who's left in this deadly equation? That's right, it's me against my brother, and then we point a Kleshnikov and kill one another. Whew, it's crazy. And you see, in a sense, this is exactly how we're meant to think when we grow up in a culture that got co-opted. Yeah, the hip-hop we see today is not the hip-hop of yesteryear, not the hip-hop of what we call the golden age. Think about it. We have so much more hip-hop now, but the golden age is the time when it started. Think about that. That's some crazy inception right there. Let me go into more detail about the Jay-Z thing, because we can get into the hip hop discussion a little bit later. Back to Jay-Z. Another long-standing conspiracy that's always been tied to Jay-Z, which I've always found personally suspicious. You don't find that suspicious? For them to even put this kind of accusation on Jay was the conspiracy that Jay-Z befriended Big L and Biggie Smalls, R.I.P. to them both, so that he could double cross them and have them killed. Now, this conspiracy was definitely more on the posthumous side because nobody knew that the trajectory of those three would be when they were all simultaneously active. Like, nobody knew. Come on. We all like assumed and whatnot, right? But like nobody knew. What? Like, come on. Matter of fact, it was heavily debated at the time which of those three was actually better. You know, although the common consensus at the time was that you guys might be surprised, but the common consensus at the time was that Jay-Z was actually the weaker of the three, because Big L and Biggie, they kind of just seem to have they seem better with their rhyme patterns and like their lyrical appeal. And it's definitely debatable though, because I don't think Big L was like as charismatic or experimental as Biggie and Jay were. Like, you know what I mean? And which I think are two important things to have under your belt if your end goal is like the top of the mountain of stardom, right? You need to be experimental, you need to have the charisma, like. But you know, fun fact actually, Jay-Z and Biggie Smalls actually went to the same high school. Like, it's crazy how all these guys like knew each other and would like all eventually become stars in their own rights, right? And I think the most famous battle that we've never heard of was DMX versus Jay-Z battle in a pool hall in Harlem. It was like super authentic because it was totally unplanned, and ironically a lot of what was used during that battle ended up being used on DMX's first album. And rumor has it some of the footage was actually recorded by Big L himself. So if anybody is able to locate that, we of the internets would love to see that, you know. Now this next part's actually not even a conspiracy. This is a fact, and it's some nasty work. Like, some of y'all will remember this. Some of you, I think most of you won't, but some of you will. Jay-Z, he had a relationship with Foxy Brown in the early 90s. Now, that doesn't sound like anything crazy at first until you realize that the song that they did together back in 94, like Ain't No Nigga, you know, yo, y'all listen to the lyrics of that song. Like, honestly, like, how you got was she like 14 or 15-year-old Foxy Brown singing and rapping Ain't No Nigga Like The One I Got, or Tell the Freaks to Find a Man of Their Own. What? Excuse me, Foxy? What? But what really makes it nasty is that Jay-Z was the co-writer of the song. Foxy's verses were pretty sexually explicit too. You're a grown-ass man. What are you writing these really super sexually explicit lyrics for a 15-year-old, sir? Also, not for nothing, but even other people have kind of either like alluded to or confirmed the rumored relationship between Jay-Z and Foxy. For example, 50 Cent, Dame Dash, Wendy Williams. Like, I mean, I think even Foxy herself has sort of alluded to it, but then she kind of like backpedaled on it. Like, you know, but you know, I don't think anyone publicly confirmed it more openly or more disrespectfully than Nasir Jones himself on the legendary diss song Ether. When Nas dropped, Foxy got you hot cause you kept your face in a puss. What you think you getting girls now cause of your looks? Negro, please. Oh, Lord. Yo, honestly, that bar went over a lot of people's heads for a long time, if you really think about it. But it's pretty true. It's pretty true, because, like, bruh, it's one thing to ghostwrite lyrics that praise a 15-year-old's vagina. Whoa. What did I just say? Yo, that sounds wild as hell. Holy shit, that sounded so predatory. Yeah, but it's another level of nasty altogether if all this actually led to them having like any type of sexual contact, intercourse. Like, you know what? I'm not saying anything here, but all I'm saying is I kind of see why him and R. Kelly ended up doing that Best of Both Worlds tour together.
Nasty.
That saying, like, you know the saying, birds of a feather flock together?
Not the cap.
Maybe I'm reaching, but like, you come on, you gotta admit, it's very suspicious how similar Foxy and Jay's story goes when you compare that to how R. Kelly essentially groomed a 12-year-old Aaliyah. Like, remember, age ain't nothing but a number. Remember that song? Because guess who wrote that one for her? All right then, moving on. So this next conspiracy rumor is conspiracy rumor. It's a little bit in the same vein. Like, come on. It's based entirely around when Jay-Z and Beyonce actually met, right? Most sources say that they met when she was like 19 and he was 31. Whoa. but there has been an ongoing thing about this, as people just can't seem to come to a true consensus of their ages when they met. Because some people are saying that Beyonce was 17 when they met, and some people are saying that there's photo evidence that they met when he was 28 and she was only 16. And
what?
Now, see, if he really did meet her and start dating her around that age, wild. Then it would fit perfectly into the narrative that Jay-Z is also this predator that used to go after overly sexualized teen girls. Yo, again, that sentence just sounded crazy. What am I saying? Wow. Yo, man. I gotta ask honestly, like, is this a thing for like for rappers to be like going after just underage girls, like, you know, going after 16, 17-year-old girls? Like, this is nasty work. This is entirely nasty work. Because the whole time I'm going through all these conspiracies regarding Jay-Z possibly being a predator, and that immediately made me think of like much more recent situations. Like, remember several years ago when Tyga was pretty much doing everything but openly admitting that he was dating a then 16-year-old Kylie Jenner. Or like, what about the time when the video got released of that 17-year-old girl on stage with Drake and okay, I'm just gonna, yeah. All right. I'm not gonna go any further. Like, you know, like, once you can start going down the rabbit hole, like, it just gets nastier and nastier. Like, is there something in the water? Like, what is up with that, yo? Like, but back to this strange Jay-Z and Beyonce situation, man. Because, like, all I'm saying is, if it's true that he met her at 16 and essentially groomed her, then it could, I'm just saying, it could stand to reason that the reason that she stayed with him after his infidelity is because of the fact that, I don't know, because she was groomed, because there's, you know, like, people who are groomed, there's an obvious unbalanced power dynamic when it comes to the victims of groomed relationships. So, I don't know. Again, I could just be reaching, but like, now that they're both billionaires, it could also stand to reason that she probably stayed for a different reason, you know? Because, like, let's just be straight up here. If Beyonce left Jay-Z, financially she would be fine, for sure. But, and that's a big but, big but here. Any and everyone that she would date after the fact would literally be considered a step down for her. So she can't really, like, escape the problems that arise from that. You know, like, she just makes too much money. Like, she'll be scrutinized to hell for like whoever she chooses, and if she chooses nobody, there'll be a group of people that'll start the hey, Beyonce's a cat lady movement or something, like, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, you know, like, but since we're like even on the topic of Beyonce, let's talk about an absolutely ridiculous conspiracy that that apparently Jay-Z helped get rid of Aaliyah to pave the way for Beyonce to become a star?
What?
Again, this is a pretty ridiculous conspiracy, y'all. Like, first of all, at the time of Aaliyah's passing, she was getting ready to go see her fiance or boyfriend, Dame Dash, in Miami. And y'all know who Dame Dash is. The same Dame Dash that was Jay-Z's business partner in Rockefeller Records. That Dame Dash. So why in the hell, why would he want to kill his business partner's fiance? Like, how is that beneficial in any way? You know what I'm saying? Like, how? Like, honestly, I think the real reason why this conspiracy exists is because of the fact that Jay ended up doing the best of both worlds deal with R. Kelly, right? And who everyone in the industry was basically aware had sexually abused and took advantage of Aaliyah when she was younger. And that R. Kelly, yeah. Like, Aaliyah died in 2001, right? And the Best of Both Worlds project came out a year after she died. Which is really in poor taste and morally in hindsight, like, but very morally wrong. Like, what are you doing? And in hindsight, the project actually just ended up not doing so well anyway. So, I mean, look what happened during the tour. Like, Jay had one of his bodyguards pepper spray R. Kelly in the face, backstage. So there was definitely no love lost there. Like, it seems like it was purely a business move. And in business, you do got to take risks. Like, it is what it is. One thing about Jay-Z that he's always been known for are his ruthless business practices, like shady moves. For example, like, y'all remember that girl Emil? She was featured on the Can I Get A song? Like, can I get a what can I get a anyway, at one point he completely abandoned her mid-tour because this is a rumor, man. This is the rumored reason was because she gained 10 pounds. I don't think that's entirely the case, but yeah, that's pretty ruthless. Also, there was the very notable thing that he did going behind Dame's back at the time to basically secretly strike business deals simply because he didn't like the way that Dame would present himself in those meetings. So maybe there was a little bit of a control freak factor involved too when it comes to Jay-Z. Listen, some people like to harp on situations of being loyal, when it comes to business, and honestly, most of the time, there's no room for that kind of emotionality in business, especially if you're aiming for it to be the most successful. You may have to do some things that may seem unethical or may seem at times not everyone's just built to do business together, man. People get things misconstrued in weird ways sometimes. Story time, man. Story time. I'm gonna tell a story. I remember a time when me and consistent business partner of mine, I say consistent because we've done quite a few successful projects together, and we're one day brainstorming an idea that we wanted to implement, and a longtime friend of mine happened to be at the table at the time, right? Now, this friend showed interest in being involved in the project. So, matter of fact, they were so super enthusiastic about the whole project initially, right? So we all decided to maybe try to do a test run together and get something going, right? And honestly, it was a bit of a disaster. The friend just did not seem to have the awareness of his own shortcomings and And when it was brought up to him, like he became entirely defensive, and maybe it was the fear of missing out, or just like the fact that kind of like misunderstood the criticisms that he was getting. But he basically was under the impression that by us giving him the constructive criticism that he at the time wasn't willing to embrace, that he essentially fooled himself into believing that my business partner was being disloyal and seeking to have him replaced, when none of that ever happened. And long story short, the project would eventually just be scrapped, unfortunately, because like it just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Like it just, nobody felt right about going forward with it after that. But I say all that to say, fact of the matter is, like, not everyone is built to do business together, and it's not even a loyalty thing, because think about a business. It's a separate legal entity on its own. Like you can be the head of the business and go from having a rival business to annexing said rival the next day, and now y'all work together. It's like, what happened to the loyalty there, right? Like you guys were like making disparaging ads towards each other when you were rivals, and now the rivals are like are literally part of the same company, so now y'all gotta be friends and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because things can change at the single drop of a hat, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is taking the highest profits, right? All right, now can we talk about the lawsuit? So, as most of you may have already know, Jay-Z's name was included in a lawsuit that was originally filed in October against Diddy, accusing him of I'm gonna say sexually assaulting. Yeah, the R word, the R word of a 13-year-old girl at a party in the year 2000. After the VMAs, like, yeah, it was an after party after the VMAs, allegedly, right? The accuser has yet to be publicly identified for the time being, anyway. And here are some of the details of the lawsuit, right? So, the Jane Doe in the suit said that she met the man after the MTV Music Video Awards at Radio City Music Hall in Manhattan in 2000.
Stop the cap.
She'd been trying to get into the event or to go to an after party, but did not have a ticket. And she began approaching limousine drivers outside, according to the suit. One of the drivers said he worked for Diddy and told her she fit what Diddy was looking for, the suit alleges. After the driver took her to an after party, Jane Doe said, she was told to sign what she believed was a non-disclosure agreement.
Stop the cap.
And given a drink that made her woozy. Okay, and it continues on. The plaintiff laid down in a room, the lawsuit said, and Diddy and Jay-Z entered. Jay-Z removes her clothes, according to the suit, and assaulted her, while Diddy and a female celebrity who is not named in the document watched, it says. Diddy tried to force the plaintiff to perform oral sex, but she hit him in the neck and he stopped. And then she grabbed her clothes, ran to a gas station, and called her father, it says. So before I go further, honestly, I immediately have some questions, man. Like, first of all, what did this girl look like to be getting away with going to after parties at the age of 13? The hell? Like, secondly, how does a 13-year-old even know what a non-disclosure agreement is without someone explaining it to them? And also, how is the agreement even binding if you're 13 years old? You're under your parents' guardianship. How exactly did this child who was given a drink to make her feel woozy,
You nasty.
still able to summon the strength necessary to first hit a grown man in the neck, still have the wherewithal to grab her clothes, and then run out of the house? Mind you, how come nobody else stopped her? And it was just her hitting Diddy in the neck that just stopped everything?
Stop the cap.
And of course, the most important question, where the hell were her parents or guardian or like any other person? I don't care how mature or developed she looked. At 13 years old, you do not have an adult brain to be able to go ahead and process all of that while also being drugged and still be able to escape, while other individuals simply just allowed you to leave.
Stop the cap.
Right? Like, including the two grown men that allegedly finished R-wording you. Like, honestly, these are the questions. These questions are only if we're taking the lawsuit serious in any way, honestly.
You're a victim.
Because, like, continuing on, man, like, obviously, Mr. Carter released a statement through his own lawyer stating, the lawyer who filed the suit made a terrible error in judgment, thinking all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out the projects of Brooklyn. We don't play these type of games. We have very strict codes and honors. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake physics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me. That, if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. Now, come on, Hove. You know damn well you ain't no young man. Sir, you're about to be pushing 50. Wow, that is crazy to say out loud. Jay-Z is pushing 50. Wow. Or sorry, 60. Did I say 50? I meant 60. Yeah, pushing 60. This man, you're about to be pushing 60. Jay-Z is pushing 60. Holy crap. Anyway, as you can see from the original filings, there's just so many questions, and things did get more interesting because after Jay-Z's lawyer asked that the accuser preserve all evidence relevant to the case, because the accuser herself has recently admitted that she made mistakes in her own recollection of the events, prompting Jay-Z's lawyer to state that, taken together, the factual inconsistencies, timeline impossibilities, and the lack of corroborating evidence make the plaintiff's allegations wholly unreliable. And one glaring inconsistency mentioned by Jay-Z's team was that the accusers claim that she was allegedly attacked at an after party hosted in a private residence, right? She references a house that supposedly fits the description of the location of the alleged assault, but no such house exists. The court documents read. And the plaintiff's allegations become even more dubious when considering the nightclub evidence. Because apparently Jay-Z's lawyer pointed out that Diddy was actually photographed at two separate after parties at two separate nightclubs following the 2000 VMAs, both at Club Twirl and Lotus, right? Now, as we continue down the inconsistencies pipeline, we get to another point that should make everyone collectively say, huh? Not only did the accuser's lawyer, Tony Busby, admit that he didn't even vet his client, he claimed that another law firm vetted her and then stated that he will continue to vet her claims. So now I'm in no way a lawyer, right? But wouldn't it make sense to, like, vet your clients before taking on their case? Like, this could be a money grab case that literally goes nowhere and ruins your reputation as a lawyer. And the last inconsistency that I really kind of wanted to highlight here is that Jay-Z's legal team pointed out the problems with the accuser's story of how she left the gas station, right? The accuser's side of the story that she told to NBC News was that I was upset, and the person at the gas station could tell that I was obviously upset, and she let me use the phone. I called my dad because he was the only person I trust at the time. I told him I messed up. I needed a ride home. We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was. Now, here's where it gets even crazier though, because like even the accuser's father said he has no recollection of this event, like driving 5 hours from Rochester to New York City. He has no recollection of that. And that's something that you cannot, as a father, like, yo, you cannot forget something like that. Driving to pick up your 13-year-old child in the middle of the night, 5 hours from New York City. What is your kid doing? What is your 13-year-old kid doing in New York City while you're in Rochester, New York? That's a 5-hour difference, guys. That is insane. Anyways, he said in a statement himself, this is the father we're talking about, I feel like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind. Right? Like, how in the hell would any father simply forget about a 5-hour drive to pick up their young teenage daughter who is visibly upset? There is absolutely no way. Anyways, the accuser's lawsuit mentions other celebrities too, but doesn't name them for any wrongdoings. The victim claimed that she recognized many celebrities at the party and was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. She claimed the following: I'm talking to like Fred Durst, Benji Madden about his tattoo because, you know, about his tattoo, that's the Last Supper, because I have a religious background, so it was just something to talk about. Wow.
What?
Okay. First, shout out to Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit and Benji Madden from Good Charlotte. But another inconsistency arises here, like, because during the 2000 VMAs, the night that this whole incident went down, allegedly, Benji was literally on tour in Chicago with Good Charlotte. So how the heck could he have been in New York?
Stop
Oh
the
my
cap.
gosh. Anyways, there's just way too many weird inconsistencies to me that make this seem like more of a cash grab than an actual attempt for justice, you know? And however, just her naming Jay-Z in the lawsuit has already established a verdict of guilt within the minds of the masses that already don't trust these celebrities or already feel like Jay-Z has been part of this cabal of elites that all hold some form of membership in the Illuminati.
Nasty.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about that. You know, like for now. Yeah, for now. But speaking of lawsuits,
You're a victim.
well, y'all remember when, oh man. Y'all remember when Drake filed a petition against UMG a few months ago? Remember? Well, things have finally ramped up because Drake has now officially filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group for defamation and harassment, alleging that the company helped to spread a malicious and false narrative about him when they promoted and released the diss track Not Like Us. The lawsuit alleges that UMG approved, published, and launched a campaign to create a viral hit out of a rap track that falsely accused Drake of being a pedophile and calls for a violent retribution against him. Now, what's a little suspicious about that is the fact that there's a screaming hypocrisy in his statement. Like, did Drake not in his own diss tracks to Kendrick create a false narrative that Kendrick's young son isn't his, but rather his manager Dave Free's kid? And he also started a narrative that Kendrick was a wife beater. And I really think Drake is angry because his diss tracks weren't as impactful as his previous high-profile beef that he had with Meek Mill that made Drake's diss tracks hit songs. All right? And it's almost like he got a taste of his own medicine and he just didn't like it, you know? Nah, but in all seriousness though, according to the lawsuit, it was filed to hold UMG accountable for knowingly promoting false and defamatory allegations against Drake. The statement goes on to say that beginning on May 4th, 2024, and every day since, UMG has used its massive resources as the world's most powerful music company to elevate a dangerous and inflammatory message that was designed to assassinate Drake's character and led to actual violence at Drake's doorstep. The suit cites examples of the alleged violence as violence that resulted, including an incident on May 7th when an armed group of assailants drove to Drake's Toronto home where at least one gunman opened fire, wounding Drake's security guard. Another alleged incident occurred on May 8th when a different intruder got onto Drake's property after using his hands to dig a hole underneath the security fence. The following day, the suit says another break-in attempt happened. See, now, part of the lawsuit to me feels a little disingenuous because over the past several years, Drake has been trying to position himself like he's on some gangster shit, mob ties and whatnot, and basically standing next to certain rappers from the city who are associated with rival street gangs. So you're essentially putting yourself into the city's fuckery and politics, but you're trying to position it like it's people being incensed by a song from a Compton rapper. When, what was it, like around that same time, you dropped a diss track where you were taking shots at not only The Weeknd, but his manager, who also has ties to the city. How do you know that was tied to Not Like Us? It could have also been like, there could have been so many different things, man. Like, they could have just been using that as a cover to come anyway, to come get you. Like, it's weird because like he even mentions in the lawsuit, Drake even mentions famous streamers, right? Like, what? Why are you calling out Kai Cenat for? You're the one who was up in his stream telling him to stay on stream so he could react to your latest diss track to Kendrick at that point. Like, Kendrick does Kendrick really got that much influence over black people? Like, really? Like, is his word law? Like, is he the second coming of Tupac or something? Is he Black Jesus? Like, what's going on here? Like, come on, man. I know Drake is going through some issues with UMG, and obviously the best business move for either side is to diminish the stock of the other so they can negotiate from a better position when it comes to renewing contracts. At least that's how I see it. But I think Drake was basically coming up on like a contract year with UMG, and in order for them to not have to give Drake what's probably like a $500+ million contract renewal, it made more sense for them business-wise, for UMG business-wise, to do whatever they could to diminish his stock as much as possible, and so they can be in a more advantageous position when renegotiating with Drake, right? The problem with this lawsuit, though, for me, is like Drake for years has been on the benefiting side of these unethical label practices. Like, for years, they have been using predatory tactics to make sure Drake maintains that number one spot and makes them the most money. Drake has only been Teflon all of these years because UMG allowed him to be. And now he's turning on them. But in all honesty, this feels a little bit like trying to bite the hand that feeds you, you know? Like Drake is making a wild gamble here. And if things go wrong here, he could become like the next Ice Spice and just like basically lose millions of fans in one day. You know what I mean? Like one other thing that that this whole Drake versus UMG lawsuit is showing though is that Drake actually is not as powerful as he's perceived to be. You know,
what?
Like someone of his star power and level is still signing contracts with major labels. Why is he so afraid to go independent? Is Drake actually more beholden to that cabal of individuals that co-opted hip-hop than we are aware, than we're privy to? You know? That same shadowy group of figures that found a way to like control the culture by throwing money at people who can't say no. You know, they run these music labels and transform what started as a culture of young black people forming a community to transform the influence of that culture into a music genre that they could package up with their subliminal messages that promote the most violent and degenerate aspects of human behavior, to debase people to their most animalistic instincts so they don't use their brains to think critically. That song about ABC bars, I got 1, 2, 3 cars. Ooh,
what?
That sounded fire over this beat. Like the original message is lost, man. Like hip hop used to be a culture about social change and the betterment of the community, and now it turns into who can be the best degenerate music clone. You know, like sometimes it feels like there isn't even any skill involved anymore. You know, like the majority of the reason a lot of people listen to some of these new artists who simply use the mesmerizing aspects of some of these productions to feed the masses the messages of suppression. It's giving poison through the medicine, honestly. Like, man, I really want to talk more in depth about this whole co-opting of hip hop, but I feel like I've just been talking on the one side and just like hammering from the one position, you know. And in second thought, I feel like this is a topic that kind of like it may do better as a conversation with a guest, you know. Like it needs its own space for it to like kind of really for the opinions to breathe a little more, right? So yeah, maybe I'll save that part for like a part 2 of this subject, yeah, for the next episode. Yeah. So with that, man, I think I'm gonna call it, man. Like, once again, y'all, thank you always for listening to another episode of Rich Talks. I look forward to seeing y'all again. Until next time, salute to the outro.